Happy Wednesday, guys. I'm Toni Shiloh, and I'm here for today's Wednesday excerpts. I'm going to be reading from The Love Script. My new release just came out yesterday, and I'm so grateful for all of you who have already posted reviews, who have already shared that you're reading. I hope you enjoyed the story. It took me a minute to figure out where I wanted to read from, just because there's so many parts in here that I love and adore. So I thought the part that would be the make the most sense is you can see what gets Nevaeh and Lamont in trouble. So it's towards the end of the first chapter. And so Lamont's mom, Miss Rosie, is sick, and Nevaeh is in the kitchen making her soup when Lamont walks in. And this is what happens. What are you doing? I yelped, and noodles flew everywhere. Lamont Booker folded his arms over his impressive chest, glaring at the pasta scattered across his marble countertops. Why are you cooking in my house? He glowered at the mess, as if the spilled food would have the answers to his question. Miss Rosie's sick, and she forgot to cancel our appointment. I couldn't just leave her here all alone, so I made soup. My words rushed out as I struggled for air. His gaze rose to meet mine, and I drew in a ragged breath. Whew, I could see why people had dropped the cover title on him. What do you mean she's sick? Every word was elongated, making the question more pronounced. I blinked. You don't know? She told me you knew. She'd hoodwinked me. How sick? He demanded. I took a half step back. Lamont Booker intimidated me by just being Lamont Booker. This brooding, towering version made me want to hide behind the pantry door until he turned back into the swoony version I was used to seeing. But I wasn't one to cower, so I tilted my chin up. She said it's just a stomach bug, but her blinds are closed and she's lying in bed, obviously in pain. He flew out of the kitchen, his footfalls pounding against the steps. I winced and looked at the messy countertops. I found a dish rag and wiped up the pasta, then found a broom to take care of the pieces that landed on the hardwood floor. A few minutes later, he stalked back into the kitchen. I froze mid-sweep. He stopped in front of the farmhouse sink and ran a hand over his bald head. I'm sorry for startling you earlier. No problem. I was in my own world anyway, dreaming of owning a place so luxurious. Wouldn't that show my parents that Nevaeh Richards wasn't just a stylist? They thought my career beneath me and the education they'd provided. Newsflash, I loved what I did, even if it didn't live up to their standards or pay enough to get me a kitchen like Lamont Booker's. I appreciate you taking care of her. She said you've been checking in on her since you arrived. Of course. I dumped the food into the stainless steel trash can, then put the broom back in the supply closet I'd rummaged through and rinsed out the rag I'd found to clean with. I added the noodles, so the soup will be ready in about 5 minutes. After that, you can pour her a bowl. He opened his wallet, but I held up a hand. I didn't do her hair, so you don't owe me anything. But you cooked. Clean too. He pointed to the gleaming countertops to emphasize the point. I don't charge people for helping them. That's just wrong. I blew out of breath. Besides, the whole point of helping is doing without expecting something in return. I slid my hands into my pockets, wishing Lamont Booker had come home a little later. So late I could have given Miss Rosie her soup and left unnoticed. Other than the day he hired me and the time we spoke to discuss my fees, our conversations weren't the lengthy types. A greeting here or there, a nod in passing if he looked busy. We didn't normally just stand in his gorgeous kitchen and chat about his mother's health unless it was healthcare related. Now he stood before me in a white tee and gray joggers, and I wanted to swoon. Well, just a little. Okay, maybe enough to have a fangirl moment and ask if he'd signed something. Though what I didn't know, it's not like I carried paper around for such a thing. Although living near Hollywood certainly afforded me opportunities for star sightings. But if I wanted to be taken seriously in this business, I couldn't go up to a celebrity and act uncouth. Then, thank you very much for taking time to look after her. He smiled. Anytime. I walked out of the kitchen before I lost my composure. Surely I had some kind of paper in my styling case that had its space for Lamont Booker's signature. Oh, I saw your case upstairs. Let me grab that for you. Right. I nodded. As soon as he was out of sight, I internalized the scream and fanned my face. Thank the Lord I didn't have to talk to that man on a regular basis. I was better than this. I saw A-list actors and celebrities all the time. Just the other day, I was behind one at a stop sign. I probably wouldn't have even realized if it hadn't been for the vanity plate on his BMW. The sound of pattering steps greeted my ears and I blew out a breath. Thanks for grabbing that. Time to exit stage left while my inner fan's mouth remained sealed with duct tape. Sure, I'll walk you out. I barely kept my brow from rising. Since when did he walk me out? Was this when I'd lean in and close with was this when he'd lean in close and tell me never to step foot in his kitchen again? To leave his glorious gas range stove to him? Instead, we walked in silence until he opened the front door. Thanks again, Nevaeh. Of course, I hope Miss Rosie feels better. Would it be impertinent for me to ask him to text me an update on her? Me too. For a moment, his mouth drew down and deep grooves appeared, and my earlier thoughts on cancer returned, flooding my brain. She'll be okay, right? I asked softly. His gaze met mine and he nodded. She will. I gulped and turned away. My foot slipped off the step that had existed since the house was built, but apparently my brain had forgotten, despite the many times I'd stepped down before. My mouth opened to let out a panicked squeal, only a strong arm swooped around my stomach and tugged me close. You okay? He murmured. Yeah, I breathed, heart hammering against my overalls. He let me go and my face heated as he lowered the suitcase. Obviously, if I couldn't see a step, I couldn't drag a rolling suitcase behind me. Instead of thanking him for keeping my face from kissing the pavement, I pulled the handle up and walked away in embarrassment. No wonder he was the sexiest man alive. Even my pulse had reacted on instinct and my stomach felt branded by his touch. Once again, I thank God that I didn't have to see him on a daily basis. I'd be an absolute wreck. That's the end of the excerpt. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you grab your copy of the Love Script. Again, you can find it on your favorite retailers. It's available on ebook, paperback, audiobook, hardcover. Apparently, I can't speak today. Hope you guys have a fantastic day and come back again for Wednesday excerpts. Bye.